Good morning. My name is Una McPhillips, and as Secretary General, I'm delighted to welcome everyone tuning in today to join our Minister Helen McEntee and Minister of State for Law Reform James Browne to publish the Department's Strategy Statement and Justice Plan 2021. This is our first time live streaming a strategy launch, but like every organisation around the world, the Department has had to adapt and adjust over the last year. And we're really conscious that our mission of working for a safe, fair, inclusive Ireland is more important than ever in the current circumstances. So our 3-year strategy is an ambitious one, but it has to be given the importance of the mission. We will, of course, continue to prioritise supporting our public health colleagues, just as we have over the last 12 months. But Justice Plan 2021 will help keep us focused on our strategic goals in this challenging situation. And the goals show just how broad, how complex and how vital our work is. I want to thank all the colleagues who brought together these strategy documents, and particularly our stakeholders and the public who helped us with their views and insights through a wide-ranging consultation. As I mentioned in my introduction, justice is a people business. Serving the public is at the heart of all we do as a department and as a sector. Our interactions with people are often when they are at their most vulnerable or troubled, when they need our services the most. I believe this means that we have a particular obligation to approach our work, whatever aspect of it is that we're involved in, with compassion and care. As a department, we're working hard to build on our transformed structure and improve how we do that, to design our services around customers' needs, to communicate, engage and listen better, to use data, research and evidence to support informed decision-making, to harness technology to provide more efficient public services, and to consciously shape our culture as an organisation that values collaboration, professionalism and openness. The strategy reaffirms our commitment to this way of working, and in a webinar with all staff last week, the Minister highlighted the contribution of each individual and the importance of how we work together within the department, the sector and the wider public service. I believe it's a testament to the commitment and dedication of colleagues that through these uncertain times they have kept the show on the road, as well as providing strong practical support to our frontline colleagues and to the health service. I'm very proud of the resilience shown by colleagues and the role they play in keeping the people of Ireland safe, and I thank them for that work and commitment. Both our ministers have been hugely involved in shaping these documents and personally put many hours of work into them. So it's a pleasure to introduce our first speaker, Minister James Browne, who's leading on a number of key priorities in the Justice Plan, and I'll hand over to him now. Minister.
Thank you very much, Una. This is a hugely important day for the Department of Justice, for Minister McEntee and myself, as the Statement Strategy and the Justice Plan 2021 is launched. I want to commend the work of Una and the staff within the Department of Justice and the state agencies. Their effort, determination and clarity of purpose have provided us with a very effective and clear plan over the coming years. I'm also very happy to see that commitments in the programme for government are included in a very clear manner and with clear timelines. The plan is ambitious, but it should be. It is also realistic and deliverable. The justice system plays a hugely important role within our communities and for our young people. My focus is on implementing positive changes in our justice system that will have the greatest impacts in the real world on communities and on young people and for opportunities for our children. I want to see communities that are safe. I want to see a justice system that is accessible and fair, and I want to see all of our young people included in our society. For this, I believe 3 things need to happen. We need to strengthen our legislation to ensure that An Garda Síochána have the necessary powers to hold offenders to account, and a court service that is effective and efficient to ensure justice is done, and justice is done in a timely manner. I think secondly, we need to see early interventions provided for children, supports for families and communities, and efforts to disrupt criminal networks that seek to lure our children into criminal activities. We also need to see a policy agenda that starts from the realisation that we cannot arrest our way out of crime. We cannot arrest our way out of social exclusion, and we cannot arrest our way out of poverty. We need to develop social capital by supporting families, communities, empowering youth workers and providing pro-social activities for our young people. That is why, for example, included in the action plan is the proposal to review knife crime, to revise and if necessary strengthen the legislation. We have worked with the Department of Justice to provide greater legislation that empowers An Garda Síochána to deal with scramblers. And the gambling legislation will be brought forward this year with both a scheme and the implementation of a gambling regulator. In terms of interventions in the coming weeks, I look forward to publishing the new National Youth Justice Strategy 2021 to 2026. This strategy aims to improve our engagement with children and young people, and especially those who are identified most at risk within our communities, and to divert them away from criminal activity. We have set up the Antisocial Behaviour Forum to consider community-based approaches to help young people be diverted away from criminal activity, to provide alternatives so that they can get involved and be part of our communities. We have seen, for example, in recent times, the devastating impact of the misuse of scramblers and quad bikes. People have suffered serious injuries and, unfortunately, even fatalities. We want to work with those communities to empower community leaders and provide alternatives for those young people. Later this year, the scheme for the gambling legislation will be published, and in the autumn, a gambling regulator will be appointed, and this will lock in gambling legislation. We've been waiting decades now for a new reform of our gambling laws. Gambling has caused devastation to families across this country, but with the appointment of a gambling regulator, we will ensure that gambling legislation will be passed over the coming years. We live in a time of great change, and change has become a way of life. Whether it's COVID, the internet, artificial intelligence, augmented reality, climate change. At the outbreak of the US Civil War, Lincoln said, "The dogmas of the quiet past are inadequate for the stormy present and future. As our circumstances are new, we must think anew and act anew." And so must we. As in other sectors, the justice sector has had to significantly adjust due to COVID. This year has been challenging for many of us, and I want to acknowledge the commitment and professionalism displayed throughout these uncertain times by staff and agencies of the Department of Justice. COVID-19 has shown us the importance of working together, of being able to adapt quickly by being innovative and collaborate. The challenges that COVID-19 pandemic pose are significant, but the justice sector has not been found wanting. That is one of the many reasons why I have huge confidence in the Statement of Strategy and in the staff of the Department of Justice and their agencies to deliver both on the Statement of Strategy itself and on the Justice Plan. I look forward to working with everyone in the Department of Justice, with Una, with Minister McEntee, to deliver a new justice system that embraces sensible and realistic ways to change and bring us all closer to the hugely important vision of a safe, fair and inclusive Ireland. Una.
Thanks, Minister. And I'm delighted to now invite our Minister, Helen McEntee, to launch our Strategy and Justice Plan.
Thank you, Una. Good morning, everyone, and thanks to you for your opening remarks, and indeed thanks to my colleague, Minister James Browne, for his remarks also. It's really great to be with you this morning as we launch Justice Plan 2021, but also our Department of Justice 3-year statement strategy. Of course, the circumstances of this launch are perhaps not what we would wish them to be. The current COVID restrictions means that we can't have many of you in this wonderful atrium in our Department of Justice on Stephen's Green, but I'm really glad to welcome you virtually as we live broadcast across the department's social media channels. I am absolutely honoured, and it has been a privilege to hold the position of Minister for Justice for the last number of months. This is a wonderful department, and since my appointment back in June of last year, it has been a pleasure for me to meet with and to work with so many outstanding and dedicated people, not just in the department here, but across the entire justice sector. Of course, much of our time, as both Una and James have alluded to, has been spent dealing with COVID, the effect that it is having and continues to have across our society and across our economy, and it is great. The Department of Justice, An Garda Síochána, our court service, the prison service, they have all provided outstanding public service throughout COVID-19. But as difficult as times might seem, we must look beyond our current difficulties. Things will get better. We will move to a different space, and we need to be able to plan for life after the pandemic. We in the Department of Justice are aiming to do that today, and this is why we are launching our plan. We have built our plan around 5 main goals. The first goal is focusing on how we can tackle crime, how we can enhance our national security and transform our policing system. Second, our goal is to improve access to justice, and doing so by modernising our court system. Our third goal is focused on strengthening community safety, on reducing reoffending, on supporting all victims of crime and combating domestic, sexual and gender-based violence. Our fourth goal aims to deliver a fair immigration system, one that is underpinned and based on a digital system that is fit for our generation. Our fifth goal is taking all of this together, accelerating that innovation, that digital transformation, and applying our climate action goals across the entire justice sector. Justice Plan 2021 outlines over 200 specific actions that we will implement to deliver our programme of reform and progress these goals over the next 12 months. We will update our Justice Plan annually. We will have new actions, new timelines next year. As James has said, this is an ambitious plan, but I do believe we need to be ambitious. I want to build a justice system that works for everybody, a justice plan that sets out a path to realise that aim. This is what we are doing here today. Our first responsibility in the justice system is to protect our people, to protect our state, and we will continue to play our part with strong practical support across all of the departments and the whole sector for the public health efforts to tackle COVID-19. That will continue to be our first and foremost priority, to keep people safe. But as our goals illustrate, the policies, the objective, the duties of the Department of Justice extend much further beyond that, and they span across all parts of life and all parts of our society. As well as keeping people safe, making sure that they feel secure in their own homes, in their own communities, it is our duty to provide an equitable, an accessible and an affordable path to justice. It is our duty to support all victims, to support our communities. It's also our duty to treat those who seek refuge in our country, who seek to make Ireland their new home, that we treat them with fairness and we treat them with respect. And with that in mind, I'm glad to announce today that we will begin to accept applications for a regularisation scheme for thousands of undocumented migrants by the end of this year. In the justice sector, we must also support those who rely on us every day in their business, their family and their community life, and those who need us to respond with compassion and understanding at moments of crisis and difficulty. I also want, as I've mentioned earlier, the justice sector to embrace the digital first agenda, to make our services easily accessible and to ensure that they work for those who need them. And we have seen through COVID-19 how our justice sector has evolved and developed and embraced the digital sector too. The justice sector will implement climate action policies, not just to contribute to the efforts to tackle climate change, but also to lead by example. As I have said, and both James and Una have alluded to, COVID-19 I think really has shown people at its best. It has certainly shown the great people who work across the justice sector at their best. The Irish Prison Service, they have responded with great professionalism in keeping our prisons safe. The Court Service, they have adapted with speed and innovation to maintain our legal services. And by cementing its relationship with our communities, the Garda Síochána have done so much more than policing the pandemic. We have seen the great engagement and the support that they have provided to communities, the length and breadth of this country. We can look forward with confidence to An Garda Síochána completing its transformation to a world-class policing service, working for the safety of our community, and many of the actions contained in this plan will help them to do just that. Stronger legislation, international cooperation, additional resourcing to support An Garda Síochána in tackling organised crime will also be a key focus. We will not back down in our determination to tackle these gangs, and we will not back down in our determination to make sure that they do not take hold of our younger generations. Since becoming Minister for Justice, tackling domestic, sexual and gender-based violence has been one of my top priorities, and I think Irish society in recent years has been transformed not just by the social changes that have taken place, but also by the acknowledgement of the darker chapters from our short history and indeed the damage that has been done to so many of our people. I firmly believe that in future generations, in years to come, we will look back on the scourge of domestic and sexual violence and we will ask ourselves how we tolerated for so long it being a lesser form of crime or abuse. That period is over. This plan, the reforms in this plan will mean that victims will be supported by the criminal justice system, that their abusers will be punished. They, like all victims of crime, will know that the system is there to serve them when they are at their most vulnerable and when they need us most. Everyone in our society, I think, is better served by reduced levels of reoffending. I believe that this is best achieved by diverting people from the criminal behaviour at an earliest stage, and James has outlined through our new youth justice strategy, but many other actions in this plan, how we intend to do this by deploying restorative justice methods to the greatest extent possible. But we also need to ensure that those who are sentenced to imprisonment for their serious crimes, that they serve their time in humane and consistent access to appropriate treatment and regimes to support them in addressing their behaviours. And that's why I will legislate this year to ratify the OPCAT Convention to help drive high standards and continuous improvement in our places of detention. Another important area in this work is the Joint Task Force on Mental Health in our prisons, and we will establish this shortly, working with my colleagues in Health, Ministers Donnelly, Minister Buckley and Minister Feehan. Building a justice system that works for everybody also requires us to make our courts and our legal system more accessible. And key to this is a staff plan that is more sensitive to the needs of families, those who are going through immense difficulty and periods of difficulty and sensitivity. Improving access to justice also means driving down costs to help our businesses, to help our consumers and our communities. This means reducing legal fees, but it also means reducing the cost of insurance. And there are many actions in this plan here today to tackle these issues. Our cultural and our hospitality sector, they have been worst affected by COVID-19. Many of our cultural institutions, they have not opened their doors in almost a year now, but I firmly believe that this sector, that they will soon colour the days and the nights of our lives once again, and we will help them get back on their feet. We will show them that we are planning for beyond this pandemic, and we are thinking ahead for them and those in this industry. We have wonderful artists, musicians, DJs, promoters, people working in the arts, culture, hospitality sector. We will modernise our laws to support them, to support the development of the nighttime economy so our cities can become thriving and safe spaces again, where we can take our place among the cultural capitals of the world. Ladies and gentlemen, and to all of you who have joined us this morning, the justice system, as you can see, reaches across so many aspects of our lives. I really believe that with this plan, all of us working together in this department with all of our stakeholders, our agencies, community and voluntary sector, we can implement an ambitious reform plan to build a system that contributes to the improvement of society and to build a justice system that works for absolutely everybody. I want to thank all of those who are involved in bringing this plan together and to say that I look forward to working with each and every one of you as we implement it, not just this year, but in the years ahead. Thank you.
Thanks, Minister. Just it remains for me to thank everyone who was involved in putting this together for today, and just to say we'll be reporting twice a year on the actions in the plan. But for now, it's back to work. Thanks.